The member for Bean will continue.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, the government's failure to take responsibility is hurting the Australian people. The worst recession in our lifetime, with an economy already in the pits late last year. 1 million Australians that don't have a job, 400,000 Australians likely to join them by Christmas, thousands more with hours cut, and thousands of businesses teetering on the edge. An aged care sector in desperate need of action and support now, not in 3 months' time, not in 6 months' time. A public service cut by 18,000 jobs and hollowed out of expertise. A superannuation system being eroded by forcing Australians to raid their retirement incomes. A university sector facing billions of dollars in lost revenue, and yet choosing this time to making it harder for younger people to go to university. A research sector facing thousands of job losses with its funding sources drying up. An environment facing the challenges of climate change, poor regulation and poor protection. A school system slipping down the global ratings while we lose thousands of apprentices out of our vet system. A nation in need of deep reconciliation with our First Peoples. This is a time when a government should be prepared to stand up to the challenges we face rather than trying to shirk them. So, Deputy Speaker, just how are we going to navigate these challenges, and when are we going to see something meaningful from this Liberal and Nationals government? Well, Deputy Speaker, what we are seeing is plenty of deflection, willing to compare us to other countries, then owning our own responsibilities. We're seeing lots of reheating and recycling of initiatives of the government that were in place before the pandemic arrived, seeing if we can fool people with the smoke and mirrors. And we're seeing a fair bit of self-praise for a wage subsidy that this government had to be dragged kicking and screaming to. That was an idea of the Labor movement, not those opposite. And of course, when it suits, we're seeing plenty of blame shifting to states and territories, and of course to Labor in government and opposition. No responsibility, just rhetoric, just the latest talking points. Millions unemployed and still crickets. Instead of taking responsibility for driving productivity and building our knowledge capital through increased investment in higher education, backing our local scientists and building a world's best R&D sector, we see a job-ready package that will actually cut funding to our universities and make it harder to get a degree and job. Instead of seeing action in our aged care sector, looking after our loved ones, supporting the staff that work so hard, we see over $1 billion cut from the system, an absence of proper regulation and oversight, a minister clearly out of his depth, a government buck-passing to states and territories. Instead of building the capacity of our public service through removing ideological staffing caps and limiting the contracting of labour hire, we see thousands of jobs lost, the outsourcing of day-to-day public service tasks, an explosion in consultancies and attacks on the integrity of public servants. And critically, instead of a jobs plan to meet the challenges of the deepest recession of our lifetime, when Australians need support, we see cutting back of JobKeeper, cutting back of JobSeeker, cutting back super and about to welsh on an election promise and attempts to cut back on pay and conditions for those who can least afford it. This is a government that's big on sizzle but short on sausage. But I tell you, this is a government you do not want at your barbecue. They won't bring the meat or salad. They won't hold the tongs. They won't do the dishes. If they burn the sausages, it will be someone else's fault. If they cook the steaks badly, they'll still be self-congratulatory. It will be, well done, Angus. They'll probably have a beer. Unfortunately, it'll probably be your beer. And whatever the questions are raised by the current circumstances, Deputy Speaker, Richard Colbeck cannot be the answer to any of them. Whenever anyone says they're doing a Colbeck, we know what that means, that they're walking out on their responsibilities. Earlier today in the Federation Chamber, when I was talking about meeting with aged care workers and the 3.7 million Australians struggling with pain management during the necessary restrictions due to the pandemic, what did members of the government do? They walked out. They did a Colbeck. They walked out on our aged care workforce. They walked out on those Australians struggling with serious and persistent pain. It's time for this government to stop doing a Colbeck and take responsibility for their work.